And now, it's time for World of Prophecy with your host, former professor at the University of Texas at Austin, career United States Air Force officer, and best-selling author, Texe Marrs.
Hello, friends. This is Texe Marrs, and welcome to another edition of World of Prophecy. You know, we have the title World of Prophecy because we are heard around the world globally on WWCR International Shortwave Radio. And I appreciate the correspondence that we received, the personal letters, and I know many of you are getting a great blessing from this radio program. We appreciate your support. I want to also let my good friends out there in the radio world know that my new book, Big Sister is Watching You, the true story of Hillary Clinton and the feminazis who are now running the President of the United States, as well as this nation, is doing very, very well. God is blessing the sales of that book, and it's, I suppose it could turn out to be one of the biggest selling books that I've had, at least from early indications. And of course, a book doesn't have to be a bestseller to do what God wants it to do in the world. It only has to be read possibly by one or two people whom God wants in their hands. But nevertheless, we see that Big Sister is Watching You is doing very well, and already we've distributed, I don't know how many tens of thousands of copies. It's just getting really out now into bookstores and among distributors. Some of the other Christian ministries and patriotic organizations are offering the book. If you have not got your copy of Big Sister is Watching You, be sure to send your love gift of $12 plus $2 postage to Texe Marrs or to World of Prophecy, 1708 Patterson Road, Austin, Texas, 78733, and that's here in the continental United States of America. And you can call us always toll-free, 1-800-234-9673. Now, as you know, we've been having some tremendous interviews with folks over the last few weeks. But tonight's interview, I'll tell you, I'm excited about it myself. This man is a good friend of mine. He's a true American patriot, a Christian. He's written a bestseller book, too. It's a book I have. I've read it. And I'll tell you, it's a thick book. But don't let the size deter you because there's a lot of fascinating information in it. The title of the book is Behold a Pale Horse. I want to repeat that. Behold a pale horse. Well, I suggest to you that has something to do with Bible prophecy, and we're going to ask the author of the book exactly what the meaning is of that very cryptic title of his book. He's a former U.S. Naval Intelligence officer. He has an international shortwave radio program of his own, and I'm going to have him tell you how you can listen to his shortwave radio program too. He has many fascinating programs on it, and I think you'll be blessed by it as well. His name, William Cooper, and I just call him Bill. Bill, welcome to World of Prophecy.
Thank you, Tex. It's a pleasure to be with you.
You know this book, Behold a Pale Horse. Tell us a little bit about that. Why, first of all, did you title the book by that very mysterious title, and then why did you write this book?
Well, it's a long story, and it began years ago when I was a young man in the United States Navy attached to the Office of Naval Intelligence, and at one point was a member of the briefing team of Admiral Bernard Clary, who at that time was the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet. And during my stint at that duty station, I got to see a lot of top-secret, special categorized documents and messages and information that most people would never dream of, much less ever see in their life. And what it told me was that the public, the American public, are rarely, if ever, told the truth. That the National Security Act of 1947 was really created to empower the United Nations Treaty and the UN Participation Act and hasten the dissolution of sovereign nation states and bring about a one-world totalitarian socialist government. That's why the Disarmament Agency was created during that period of time also. when I began to read these things and understand what it was that I was reading, I mean, I was really young at that time and was totally unprepared for that. I'd been reared in a military family. My father was an Air Force colonel, a command pilot, and I just believed so much in this nation and so much in our form of government that I was literally torn asunder by this. It was like someone had ripped my soul out of my body, and everything that I had ever learned or known in my life was just, all of a sudden I was confronted with the fact that it just was not so. And I studied for many years. I left the Navy. I had intended to stay in the service and retire. I left the Navy because I could no longer be a part of this deception. And I spent the next many years trying to, well, first I tried to reveal this information and was severely attacked and injured, and spent the next 16 or so years doing private research on my own to verify and find out what was going on. And literally, what I discovered was going on was the end of the world as we know it, and the beginning of what these people are bringing it about called the New Age, and the new human that is going to populate this New Age is what they call the sixth root race. And those who cannot evolve into this sixth root race are going to be totally and completely eliminated. And that drove me back to my Bible, and I began to read and began to understand much more than I ever had before. And I decided to write this book as a warning to those people who are special to God. And the verse from the Bible that fit what was happening at this point, from what I discovered in naval intelligence and from what I've discovered from studying the world situation and what is coming, was chapter 6, verse 8 of the book of Revelation of the King James Version of the Holy Bible. And it goes like this: And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with the beasts of the earth. And the purpose of this book is to warn those people who will listen that this is exactly what is coming in the very near future, and that they had better prepare now so that there will be a remnant of God's children to carry on from the point where it begins to fall apart.
Well, Bill, we're going to be discussing this book, Behold a Pale Horse, during this program. Now, friends, I want to let you know we will be, a couple of times during the program, letting you know how you can get your own copy of Behold a Pale Horse. It's quite a book. It's a large format. How many pages long is the book, Bill?
It's over 500 pages. It's about right at 500 pages, I guess. And I've been told by experts that it's the most well-documented book containing the most suppressed information that's ever been published in history up to this point.
Over 500 pages.
I've even documented in here the connection of United States Army intelligence with the Satanic Church, and explained a lot of things that people before have not been able to understand, either why it was happening or who was bringing it about. And it helps people to pinpoint who the enemy really is and where they're coming from and what they believe.
You know, Bill, a lot of the things you're saying, if a person's listening to this program for the first time, they're probably really shocked and bewildered. And yet what you just said there about the Satanic Church and the connection with the U.S. Army, we know that LaVey was at Presidio, the military installation there, and stationed, that it has a cult connection. And now we have Mikhail Gorbachev, funded by the Rockefeller Foundation and other groups. And there he is. Our U.S. government has given him basically this huge facility and even refurbished it and such for the Gorbachev Foundation.
That's correct, and that was before the law allowed it to be occupied by anything other than the military.
So there certainly is a connection here. On, you know, a lot of people ask the question about what has been called the Illuminati. And, of course, there are many other names for it. And I know this seems very basic, but for the folks out there that might have just tuned in, is there an Illuminati? Are they the ones doing these things that you've exposed in your well-documented book, Behold a Pale Horse? What about the Illuminati? Is that the group we're talking about?
Well, the Illuminati very simply means those who are illumined. And those who are illumined are all of those who belong to the secret societies whose membership organization is always in the structure of a pyramid, with a whole bunch of slathering idiots at the bottom thirsting after a secret that they'll probably never know, and a very few at the top who really know what the secrets ultimately are, and controlling this huge population that exists below them in these secret societies. And of course, as they grow up to the degrees of initiation, they take countless blood oaths, so that by the time they reach the top, they've taken 60 or more of these oaths. And they're so locked into it that even if they wanted to rebel at that point, it would be almost impossible for them to do so unless they had some tremendous outside spiritual help and inner strength. This is nothing more, Tex, in my research, I have discovered that this is nothing more than the ancient religion of Babylon, brought forth to the modern day, and it's been perpetuated in secret for the millennium, all the way from that ancient time right up to the present day. And their purpose is to restore the ancient gods to the religions of the world, to eliminate all existing religions, all existing nation-states, save theirs, and shackle what they call the mob, which is all of us, and bring them under our total and final and complete control. The basic philosophy that underlies this religion is simply this, and to them this is a metaphor, nothing else. While it may mean an awful lot to you and to me and to many other people out there, to them it is a metaphor. And basically what they believe is that man was held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, vindictive, terrible, jealous God named Jehovah or Adonai, and that man was set free from the bonds or the chains of ignorance by Lucifer through his agent Satan with the gift of intellect or primordial knowing. That man is in a state of becoming. And if man learns to do good works, so to speak, what they call good works, that man himself will elevate to the state of apotheosis and will himself become God. And you see this prevalent throughout the New Age movement. You see it prevalent throughout the lodges of Freemasonry, the ancient order of the Rose and Cross, or Rosicrucis. You see it in the Knights of Malta, the Knights Templar. You see it in the Mormon Church. You see it in all of these very, very powerful groups who hold great positions of authority in our government, our military, and even in all the local small towns and great cities out there. And I have to say, at this moment, they are very firmly in charge, and they are propelling us toward their dream of the New Age.
You know, you mentioned the Mormon Church, and you and I would know then that Joseph Smith was